Thank you, Madam Chair, and I guess we've saved the best for last. I wanted to just begin by thanking my fellow Texans for being here. I have the honor of representing the only donor state to the Highway Fund, the great state of Texas, and Dallas in particular. Mayor Nirenberg, I want to thank you for being here as a representative of the second best city in Texas. I have questions for all of you, but we don't have enough time to get into it. And I want to thank you for your testimony. I read through all of your written testimonies, and this has been a very informative hearing, and I think that it's an important one for us to talk about where we're going from here. Dallas is, like San Antonio, is one of the most rapidly growing cities in the country. We have all of the issues that have been talked about here today. We are urban, suburban. We have congestion. I think we're the 7th most congested city in the country now. We have some exciting things that are going on with DART, which is doing, I think, a very good job. And we also have, of course, TxDOT and the Innovation Alliance, which has done some great work, Mr. Anderson, so thank you for all of your hard work. I wanted to quickly get into your written testimony where you mentioned the Federal Highway Administration's Automated Driving Systems Demonstration Grant Program. And I just wanted to see if you could describe some of the projects that the Alliance would like to pursue if you are awarded that grant.
Well, I talked about, as a whole, the Alliance has been working, in addition to several other technologies and relative to solutions or challenges that they had. But autonomous vehicles are a part of that, and across many of the cities in Texas, and as I mentioned earlier in my testimony, starting with the passage of Senate Bill 2205, which opened the doors for that innovation in the state. All of those cities have been looking at first and last mile solutions, looking at movement on universities, movement between universities and housing areas, medical center movement especially for disabled or elderly that need to move in and around, for example, Houston and some of Dallas's medical complexes and can't do the walking, for example. And they're also looking at freight movement, both within the urban areas and then moving, outside of the urban areas between along our corridors. So several of those, we know that we're going to have many of those actually happening in the next year, beyond the ones that currently are occurring in Arlington and Frisco, where we have circulators of autonomous vehicles. In the case of Arlington, it's in the entertainment district, and in the Frisco area, it's between a business district and a restaurant area, and it's limiting the amount of vehicles that have to be moving during lunchtime and things like that. But also in Austin, San Antonio, Houston, Bryan College Station, Coastal Bend area, and El Paso, they all have either microtransit solutions or circulator routes that they're looking to deploy in the next year, and all of those are a part of that proposed autonomous driving system grant. They're offering those to be data sets for what's happening, not a pilot, but something that's happening now and providing that data that Federal Highways wants.
Thank you, Mr. Anderson. Mr. Terry, I'm interested in how you increased ridership. I know you discussed it briefly previously there. As I've spoken with our DART officials, obviously that's the challenge for our local regional transit folks. And if you could just very quickly go into how you've approached doing that.
Sure, thank you. It's putting the frequency, the reliability that people can count on, the hours of service. So we're focusing on the density where the employment centers are.
Did you have to decrease the area that you were serving to get that?
We have an increase of local funding through a referendum to support, and we're increasing our system by over 70%. But it's not adding a lot of more routes. It's more focusing on that frequency,
right.
The hours, and starting early, every route every day. So now you have that dependability that people can count on. And when you have the frequency, we're creating a 15-minute frequency grid that feeds into eventually 3 rapid transit corridors, people start using it. So we already invested in several routes this past year with some of the new funding, and immediately we started seeing increase in ridership. So it's starting to validate our planning.
Well, thank you. I think when we say frequency, we should also say just convenience.
Yes.
And Mr. Mayor, just really quickly, you talked about the importance of the federal government investing in regional transportation solutions in your written testimony. We have a promising high-speed rail project between Dallas and Houston. Probably get San Antonio in on that eventually. If you could just very quickly just touch on how that would be helpful.
Yeah, well, the regional rail between Austin and San Antonio has been a long sought-after dream. We've had a couple of committees, organizations set up to support it, but we really are reliant on leveraging existing infrastructure in the corridor. But certainly that project is not going to be enabled unless we have federal support. So it's vital to our state's economy. As you know, the Texas Triangle is where our state's economy runs, will for the foreseeable future. And Texas is one of the leading economies in the world now. So it's very important for us and our economic sustainability to see that corridor connected with something other than just our highway system.
Thank you, Madam
Thank you
Chair.
very much.